It might be one of 2022's most underrated releases. Today we're doing a review of Redwood Empire's Rocket Top Rye. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hunch. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So that's right, today we're taking a look at Redwood Empire's Rocket Top Rye Batch 2. So I believe there was the Batch 1 release in 2021, and now in 2022 we had the release of Batch 2. I have cracked this open and had a pour or two from it, and can tell you, it's fantastic whiskey. And you know what? Redwood Empire, there's some love on the Whiskey Tube community, especially for Lost Monarch, their Blue Rye, which is fantastic. Yes, I love that as well. But some of their other stuff doesn't get as much love, and certainly these more limited releases could use a little bit more attention. So let's dive in here a little bit and break down what's in this bottle. So for the Redwood Empire Rocket Top Rye, one of the things I love about Redwood Empire and a lot of craft distilleries is that they are pretty transparent. So they tell you right on the bottle what's in here. So the distilling season for this was spring 2017. So this is a bottled in bond rye whiskey, meaning it had to be distilled all in one distilling season. So spring 2017. Bottling was in summer of 2022. So it's older than 5 years old, which is pretty nice, especially for a rye. Ryes can hit nice maturity around 5 to 6 years old. Anything in that 6 to 8 year old range can be a really fantastic rye by all accounts. Lot size, it was 55 barrels, so relatively small batch put together here. Again, this is batch 2. And then the mash bill here is 87% rye, 5% wheat, 5% malted barley, and 3% corn. So this is actually a 4-grain whiskey, which is really, really cool. It's named after a tree called the Rocket Top. Every Redwood Empire product is named after a giant redwood tree in the redwood forest. So that's awesome. And of course, the artwork here is just fantastic. They do a fantastic job presenting their bottles and presenting their whiskey in something truly beautiful. So that's a little bit about the bottle. In terms of price here, I paid $80 for this, so not a super bad price for a more premium limited rye. I do think it can get up toward that $100 range for most people / in different areas. You might see it for a little bit more than the MSRP, but I saw it for a good price, ended up buying it, and I have been enjoying it ever since. So without further ado, let's dive into the nose, palate, and finish here. Just before we do that, I want to say, looking forward to an awesome year in 2023 with hopefully lots of fantastic reviews and videos for you guys. Would love to have you aboard for the journey this year. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider hitting that big red button and hitting that like button too, because that certainly helps the algorithm and gets the word out. All right, let's dive in here on the nose. So Rocket Top Rye. Man, it's so sweet. It's like candy sweet. And not in the way that like a candy bar or chocolate is sweet. There's almost no chocolate here. There's all like Smarties and green apple, big burst of green apple and pear. The best note I think I've been able to come up with for this is like a green apple Laffy Taffy, something like that sweet, or like a lollipop, green apple lollipop. It's really got a lot of that green apple juiciness going on here. There's a little bit of a citrus zest too, something like a lemon. It's spicy. There's a little bit of a spice underneath. The rye spice kind of gives it a backbone, which is nice. A little bit of black pepper. And there is a slight earthy herbal quality, maybe like a black tea, or just something a little bit more earthy, a little bit darker, earth base tones. So most of it is that light, bright candy sweetness with some spice, but there's just enough of a layer of an earthiness to give it some depth, which is really, really nice. It's a fantastic nose. The first thing I noticed, 100 proof since it is bottled in bond, but man, it jumps out of the glass with its nose. Like, it's really powerful. It's really strong with that sweetness. Very nice. All right, let's dive in on the palate. Cheers, everybody. A lot of the nose carries over, but what I noticed first off is very nice mouthfeel, so very solid in that department. And second, it's spicier than I was anticipating. The middle of the palate really has this simmering black peppercorn and rye spice that kind of envelops the palate. Super nice. Mixed in with that, and more on the front end of the palate, there's a really nice vanilla honey berry sweetness. So it might be like a raspberry or a strawberry, something in that realm. A nice bright red fruit mixed in with vanilla and honey. I think the honey is really nice. That kind of lingers throughout the whole thing. So you get that sweetness, then you get the rye spice and the black peppercorn. And then for me, that's when it really, some of the spice sticks around, maybe just a little bit of like even a touch of brown sugar, and it really transitions to that like green apple pear burst that kind of sticks around for a long time on the palate. Even as I sit here and talk through it, there's some of that honey and spice, but a lot of that green apple. Really, really nice. It's super complex as well. I think that's one thing I've always picked up on Redwood Empire products is just a nice level of complexity and enough to get you thinking and let you sit with the glass for quite a while. So let's go in for a second sip here, see if we can pick out some more layers of flavor. Cheers. All right, a lot stayed similar there, but that sip really, I got a lot more of those earthy herbal qualities. So a lot more of that like black tea note and maybe just a touch of bitterness to balance out that sweetness, which is actually pretty nice. And then I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it could be that darker brown sugar note. There's a lot of like toasted sugar notes or just like sugar cane notes in this as well, but it's nice to feel like there's some darker notes there too. That nice lemon zest is there from that tea quality as well, but then all those other elements were there too, that honey, that bright red fruit, and then of course that green apple and pear. I feel like in many ways that and just the sugary nature of it really shine through. All right, I haven't really focused too much on the finish yet, so let's go into the third sip here and see what we get, especially on the back end of this whiskey. Cheers, everybody. Yep. Nice, sweet, somewhat spicy, lingering finish. It's good in length, definitely in the longer category for finishes. But yeah, it's that green apple. It's that Smarties candy kind of sweetness and a little bit of spice to stick around and sort of round it out. But I do think the finish here is a sweeter, maybe slightly tart finish with that green apple and pear coming through. It's really, really nice, and it lasts quite a while. So super impressed here with Rocket Top Rye. I think the word that comes to mind the most when just thinking about this whiskey is beautiful. It's a beautiful whiskey. It's a bouquet of flavors. It's so naturalistic in a way. Like I think their whole identity here at Redwood Empire is really trying to get you in touch with the earth and with nature and things like that. And for me, this is just like almost like what I would expect to be drinking if I was sitting in a meadow contemplating life. Like it's beautiful and it's complex enough to sort of give you different layers and different things each time you sip it. Really, really awesome whiskey. And for something that's 5 years old, I mean, the sky's kind of the limit with Redwood Empire. I'm super excited to see where they go. And I hope that these Rocket Top Rye, I know the Grizzly Beast, start to get a little bit more attention and love as we go on, especially because, man, it's really, really good stuff. All right, everybody. I think that about wraps up my review here of the Rocket Top Rye. Let me know if you've been able to taste this batch 2 or batch 1, and if you've been able to taste both, let me know how they compare, and let me know what your thoughts are on Redwood Empire as a whole. Till I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey, keep trying new things, and cheers.